They say curiosity killed the cat, but in my neighborhood, curiosity almost killed Karen's reputation forever. Imagine this: waking up before sunrise, groggy-eyed, stepping toward the window with your coffee in hand, only to catch your HOA president, the woman who polices everyone else's lawn height and paint colors, out in a lavender bathrobe, stealing letters straight out of your mailbox. Sounds insane, right? But that's exactly what happened to me. And believe me, what started as a neighborhood embarrassment turned into a full-blown federal sting operation that ended with Karen in handcuffs on her own front porch. But let's rewind. For weeks, I'd been noticing weird gaps in my mail. Bills that showed up late, a birthday card from my sister that completely vanished. Even the IRS claimed they had sent me paperwork that I never received. At first, I thought, okay, maybe the Postal Service is just slacking. Happens sometimes. But it wasn't just one or two pieces of mail. It was consistent, patterned. Something was definitely wrong. So one morning, I brewed a strong cup of coffee, sat near the window, and waited. The sun was just starting to break over the rooftops when I spotted movement down the driveway. At first, I figured it was some random porch pirate, but then, as the figure stepped into view, my jaw nearly hit the floor. It was Karen. Karen, our HOA president, the same woman who handed out violation slips like Halloween candy. She was strutting in her slippers and bathrobe as if she were on a casual morning stroll. Except instead of waving to neighbors, she walked straight to my mailbox, yanked it open like it belonged to her, and started flipping through my letters with practiced ease. I nearly choked on my coffee. The audacity. This was the same woman who preached neighborhood integrity every month, who loved to humiliate neighbors for leaving trash cans out too long, now standing in the early morning light, stealing my mail. Part of me wanted to storm outside right then and there, but I stopped myself. If she was bold enough to do it once, she would do it again. And if she was stealing my mail, how many of my neighbors had she already targeted? The very next evening, during our HOA meeting, I casually brought up my missing letters. Karen, dressed in pearls and flashing her rehearsed smile, tilted her head and laughed it off. "Oh, you know how unreliable the post office can be," she said, dismissing my concerns in front of everyone. But the way she said it, the smirk, the tone, it wasn't the post office she was laughing at, it was me. And that was the moment I decided this wasn't a petty HOA squabble anymore. Because tampering with mail, that's not just rude, it's a federal crime. Under Title 18, Section 1708 of the United States Code, it carries real prison time. Karen thought she was untouchable in her HOA kingdom. She was about to find out otherwise. I knew confronting her head-on would only lead to screaming matches, HOA complaints, and more neighborhood drama. What I needed was evidence, proof that she couldn't worm her way out of. So I went above the HOA, above local police. I called in the big guns, the United States Postal Inspection Service. Most people don't even know they exist, but they're actually the oldest federal law enforcement agency in the country. And when it comes to mail theft, they don't play around. When I explained the situation, they didn't laugh it off or tell me it was minor. They took it dead serious. Inspector Lopez, the lead on my case, told me point blank, "Sir, if what you're describing is accurate, you're talking about a violation of Title 18, Section 1708. That's punishable by up to 5 years in federal prison. If you're willing to cooperate, we can set up a controlled delivery." The plan was genius. They prepared a decoy envelope with a tiny GPS tracker hidden inside. From the outside, it looked like a normal piece of mail. Nothing fancy, nothing suspicious, but the second anyone pulled it out of my mailbox, the inspectors would know. The following morning, I placed the bait envelope in my mailbox, heart pounding. Across the street, a nondescript sedan sat quietly, tinted windows hiding the inspectors inside. I gripped my coffee so tight I thought the mug might crack. Then, right on schedule, I saw her. Lavender bathrobe, slippers shuffling, head held high like she was on some self-important mission. Karen didn't even hesitate, walked right up, opened my mailbox,
and slipped the decoy letter into her pocket. Not 30 seconds later, Lopez's radio crackled inside the sedan. Trackers moving, subject heading northbound. My pulse spiked. Karen had no clue. She was walking straight into a federal sting. By the time she reached her house, local police and inspectors were already in position. The tracker showed her stepping inside with the stolen envelope. Lopez glanced at me and said, "Once she opens it, that's federal evidence. Watch closely." Minutes later, the signal confirmed it. The envelope had been tampered with. That was the green light. I followed at a distance as the inspectors rolled up to Karen's house, lights flashing. She stepped onto her porch, clutching the letter like it was a prize. Her smug expression evaporated the second Lopez flashed his badge. "Ma'am, you are under arrest for theft of United States mail, a violation of 18 U.S. Code Section 1708. Place your hands where I can see them." Karen froze. Then the excuses started. "What? This is a mistake. I'm the HOA president. I have authority." Lopez didn't flinch. "Authority doesn't extend to stealing mail. Turn around." Neighbors pouring out of their houses, phones out, filming, as Karen, the self-proclaimed queen of the cul-de-sac, was cuffed on her own front porch in daylight. I'll never forget the look on her face when they read her rights. It wasn't shame, it wasn't guilt, it was disbelief. For years, she had bullied, lied, and twisted HOA rules to keep herself on top. She thought she was untouchable. But the federal government doesn't care about HOA titles. Within weeks, Karen was indicted on multiple counts of mail theft. The HOA board voted her out unanimously, desperate to cut ties. Suddenly, the woman who once strutted in her robe like she owned the block was reduced to whispers and laughter. A cautionary tale. And me? Honestly, I didn't even care about the missing letters anymore. What mattered was simple. Justice had finally arrived. Because if you mess with someone's mailbox, you're not just playing neighborhood politics. You're messing with the federal government. And trust me, they don't play games.